So I'm Kelsey Hulsman. I already mentioned that, but for Kathy's sake. So we'll be kind of focusing on the relationships that you've had along the way, whether you're an early career researcher or you're late in your career, you've at some point in your career had mentors that helped you navigate all of the challenges and difficult decisions and even like sharing the joys of your successes. And we want to think about those kinds of relationships and how we can apply that in our community in this Community Fellows program. Yes, next. There we go. Okay. Thank you. So you have already heard a little bit about our community participation guidelines, but because this is so participatory, we just wanted to highlight again that we have a shared commitment to create an environment where people can contribute and learn and collaborate. So we want to make sure that everyone remembers to be respectful, be direct and professional. If you're talking a lot, consider talking less. If you don't talk much, consider talking more. We want to hear from everyone. And also try to understand perspectives that are different from yours. And lastly, lead by example. We should do these things every day. And if you want to read more, you can scan that QR code and you are good. So our goals today are to share some background information and impacts that the ESIP Community Fellows Program has had thus far. And the majority of our time will be spent collecting ideas from you all about how ESIP can support and mentor early career professionals, whether that's late stage graduate students or early career postdoctoral researchers or anything else. And those ideas will be used to inform changes to the program that Alicia will shepherd into the next era. So with those goals in mind, we'll be starting with a presentation on the history of the program and its impacts, which Alicia will share. And then we will hear from past community fellows, not me and Joe, but other ones, and not Debasish. And they'll share their stories because I've been around for the last year. You've heard my story already. And we'll spend some time doing silent reflections and then share those ideas and think about how we can improve and build upon the successes that we've already had. And so Alicia is going to take it from here with the history and the impact.
Thank you, Kelsey. So the ESIP Community Fellows Program began in 2011. It was initially called the Student Fellows Program, and then by 2019, it became known as the Community Fellows Program, reflecting some of the emphasis on helping early career researchers become active members of the ESIP community. So through the program, graduate students and postdoctoral researchers work with one of ESIP's collaboration areas. They also, as you're seeing this week, they support activities of both our January and July meetings, and then they gain experience working alongside professionals from across the Earth science data community, typically with that work with their collaboration area. So the fellows currently receive a $2,000 stipend, registration for both the meetings, and travel support to be here at the in-person meeting. In 2024 and 25, the program supported 10 fellows, but the number of fellows has shifted. As shown in the graph here, 7 were supported in 2016, 8 in 2021. We only had 8 this year as well. But although we've seen many positive individual outcomes over the program's history, ESIP had never conducted a formal evaluation of the program impact. So in 2026, we started working on that. We're,
Just left click instead of right click.
left click? Sorry. I'm like, what? Oh, here it is. There we go. So we conducted 2 complementary evaluations. Y'all learned that about me. I'm all about evaluations. But the first focused on the 2025 cohort. So 7 of the 10 fellows completed a survey about their experience. And the evaluation was to help us understand how fellows experience the program as it currently operates. So what worked, what support they received, and where they saw opportunities for improvement. And then the second evaluation examined the program's longer term impact. So we located contact information for 47 of our alumni who participated between 2011 and 2024. And after accounting for several email bounce backs, which there were quite a few, 23 alumni responded to that. So together, these reports provide 2 different perspectives for us to consider today. The cohort evaluation tells us what participants experienced during the program, and then the alumni evaluation tells us what stays with them afterwards. So the sample sizes are relatively small, so we should interpret some of the findings with a little bit of caution, but the patterns came across remarkably consistent, we felt, for the 2. See if I can get this to work. So the 2025 fellows reported a very positive overall experience. Every respondent said that the program met their expectations, helped them achieve their personal goals, provided a welcoming and supportive environment, and helped them meet new colleagues. The program also received a Net Promoter Score. If you don't know what that really is, it basically means that there is strong enthusiasm and a high likelihood that the fellows would recommend going through it with others. But one fellow described the experience in this way. ESIP was incredibly welcoming and valued me as an upcoming scientist and a fellow, much more so than I've experienced before. So this finding is important because the program is doing more than providing a stipend or an opportunity to attend a conference. For many participants, it serves as an entry point into a professional community, particularly for those who have not previously had access to a community like ESIP, which is very unique. More than half of the 2025 respondents had never engaged with ESIP before they came to the fellowship, and that seems to be a pretty common entry point into the organization. So the evaluation also identified growth in several areas that can be difficult to develop, we feel, through traditional academic training. We had folks rank on a 4-point scale. This was retrospective, so they thought about how they felt before and after. But fellows' confidence in navigating professional networking opportunities increased from 2 before the program to 3.3 afterward. Their confidence in serving as a community manager for science professionals increased from 1.6 to 2.8. And then fellows also reported growth in facilitating collaborative discussions, communicating with interdisciplinary audiences, and contributing to earth science initiatives. The largest change, however, was in their sense of belonging. So before the fellowship, respondents rated the statement, "I felt part of a professional earth science community," an average of 1.9 out of 4. And afterward, that increased to 3.3. So this suggests that one of the program's most important contributions may be helping early career researchers see themselves not simply as students or trainees, but as valued members of a professional community. So that sense of belonging can provide the confidence and relationships needed to pursue opportunities that may otherwise feel inaccessible. So the alumni evaluation indicates that these experiences can have effects that last well beyond the fellowship year. So every alumni respondent reported that the fellowship had at least some influence on their career path. Nearly half said it had quite a bit or a great deal of influence. 74% said the program helped clarify their career interest, and 70% strengthened their professional networks. 57% strengthened their sense of belonging in the field based on those findings. And then alumni also associated the fellowship with concrete professional outcomes. 61% started a new collaboration, 61 had presented at a professional meeting, and 61 had taken on a leadership role, and 39% had actually said that securing a job or new position was facilitated by them being in the fellowship program. So one alumnus summarized the experience in this way. ESIP provided me with true community. I built collaborations and friendships with other fellows and found mentors in the broader community. It provided a rare home for interdisciplinary work. So the program does not produce these outcomes on its own, but alumni consistently described it as an important contributor to their professional identity, relationships, confidence, and career direction. So when we look across both reports, we can see what appears to produce the program's greatest value. Alumni most frequently identified ESIP meeting participation, the networking opportunities, mentorship, and access to leaders in the field as the most valuable parts of the fellowship. But at the same time, the 2025 findings showed that access to these experiences is not yet consistent. So although every fellow met new colleagues, only 29% were satisfied with their opportunities to engage with other community members. 42% reported making 5 or fewer new professional contacts, which really surprised me. Fellows also felt strongly supported by ESIP staff, their peers, and their collaboration area chairs, but their average rating for support from the wider community was noticeably lower. So experiences within collaboration areas also varied. And most 2025 respondents said that their collaboration area helped them grow professionally, but one fellow observed that I think currently the experience as a community fellow is pretty much dependent on which cluster you end up working with. So this leads us to an important conclusion from this work. The Community Fellows Program has produced meaningful, lasting benefits, but those benefits depend heavily on access to relationships, meaningful work, and intentional support. And so again, that kind of lays the foundation for what we're going to be talking about today. So within the collaborative notes document, there's going to be a reflection question for anyone joining us online. Devashish is going to add it into the chat, but we just wanted you all to take a little bit of time to think about a professional development opportunity that had a meaningful impact on you. What specific activities, experiences, or connections made it especially valuable? And then, as I mentioned, it's in the collaborative notes document. So if you want to add your responses there. And we're just going to give it a few minutes, and I'll let you know when we have about another minute remaining.
Kathy had a question in your chat about why did we not get 100% response. I assume that's what my fellow cohorts said about it.
I sent it out shortly. Y'all probably know better than I do. I sent it out shortly after one of our last meetings, and we kind of sent it out at the very end. I just assumed that we had a couple of folks that just ended up not taking it. I really don't know. I did follow up with them a couple of times, and so, but yeah.
Thanks. That was almost like a, what do you mean they didn't answer the question?
Yeah.
How could they go through this program and not answer these questions?
Yeah. I'm not sure. I thought it was not too much of an ask, but
Yeah.
not everyone likes surveys. I get it. So.
Oh, it's the least they could do, you know?
It's okay. But yeah,
Thank
if everyone
you.
could just take a little bit of time, and then we're going to have some of our fellows share some of their stories from their time in the program. Alrighty, everyone. We're going to go ahead and transition a little bit. I know that wasn't a whole lot of time, but again, just kind of wanted you to start thinking about some things. But we have a few past fellows that are in the room with us that have offered to share, take a couple of minutes to share a little bit about their experience. But I'll have each of you just stand up, say your name, affiliation, what year you were in the program, the collaboration area you supported, and anything else you would like to add to that. But Mike, I'll call on you first if you're good with that. And let me grab the microphone. Do I need to do anything with the microphones? I should be able to bring it to you.
Yeah, hi, Mike Mahoney. I was originally a community fellow in 2021 and then 2022, originally with the IT and I committee, then with machine learning. And through my time actually, and then following that, wound up when Megan Orlando was out on maternity leave, wound up alongside Dan Segesman serving as the interim community coordinator, I think is what we called it. And wound up through those opportunities getting a huge amount of exposure to build a professional network. Sort of as add-ons to the core responsibilities of the ESIP Fellow, I did things like support NOAA AI workshops and various other meetings, things like that, which provided a digital twin NASA workshop in 2022, which provided a lot of opportunities to get engaged with folks who were working on very similar topic areas to what I was doing. I also wound up getting my current position. I credit basically entirely to ESIP, where I had originally gotten involved with ESIP through the IT and I committee, which was through a presentation I had given. After that presentation, I wound up meeting C. Lindsay Platt, who I then ran some workshops with. Then C wound up introducing me to folks at an AGU who wound up hiring for the position I'm in. And through the process of that interview, realized that the things that USGS was struggling with were things that I had spent years through the ESIP community absorbing information on through osmosis. So, yeah, has been a hugely influential contributor to my current role.
Thanks so much, Mike. I'll just have you pass it over to Douglas because he's right there.
Right. I'm Doug Swarrell, Senior Research Scholar with NCCA University, also affiliated with NCEI, and currently board president and also the incoming board president, I guess. So we'll be on the board for another year. I started as an ESIP fellow, like I mentioned at the opening plenary, since 2018. And I was those people who have never heard about ESIP before. And it just came through via random email that our department chair sent out. Anyone interested, you can apply. So I applied, and then that's where I started my journey with ESIP since then, and has been fortunate to continue so I've been fellow for 2 years, until the first year of pandemic, and so it's a shift. And I think I had a really positive experience when my class teacher at that time, machine learning class, was only starting in 2018. So, Ann Wilson, who is at CU Boulder at the time, really took me under her wing and then offered me a lot of opportunity to lead the cluster, actually. So she basically treated me as a co-chair of the cluster and working with other community members. And she was the one also encouraged me to propose the Funding Friday projects, and leads to some of the resource developments and working with clusters, and leads to a lot of connections with other community members. And so when I started working as postdoc, and then working with NOAA, and we are talking about AI and data, and so I was like, hey, why don't we start a cluster within ESIP focus on that topic rather than trying to do that for NOAA. And so that leads to a new cluster, the data readiness cluster, and on the AI ready data efforts, and been working with many community members across agencies. And also we recruited more people become the partner of ESIP, including Met Office and other agencies joining ESIP as partners. So that's a whole trajectory that I was not expecting myself to be part of, and because like I mentioned, I did not know what ontology was when before I met people at ESIP, and then they were really kind and did not think I'm stupid, don't know what ontology means, and then offered me opportunity to learn, and then working with others on that.
Great, thanks, Douglas. I'm gonna.
Hi, I'm Andrea Thomer. I am now an associate professor at the University of Arizona College of Information Science. I was an ESIP fellow from 2016 to 2017, I want to say, somewhere around there. I became an ESIP fellow because my advisor, Carol Palmer, worked with a bunch of ESIP people, including Mark Parsons and Peter Fox, and a whole bunch of people. And she said to me one advising meeting that, Andrea, ESIP is really where you should be. And so I started showing up, and I worked with the Semantic Tech Committee. I had a perfectly fine time there. They were great. But the best time I had and the best collaborations that I got were with other fellows. So me and Sam Silva, Lindsay Barbieri, and Jane Wingard wrote like 3 papers together based on Funding Friday outputs. and I think we got a lab once with the drone work that Jane and Barr were doing. And so for me, the biggest success wasn't through traditional mentorship, but it was kind of being given the space to get into trouble. The trouble being that we bit off way more than we could chew with all of these projects, but they did at least result in papers. And I now I think I've gotten at least 3 students and postdocs to sign up to become fellows as well. So I'm committed to funneling more folks through.
Hi, everyone. Natalie Rea. I'm at the University of Arizona. I'm a research scientist. I came to the Community Fellows Program via Andrea. But I came to ESIP via Denise Hills, who I had done an informational interview with towards the end of my PhD. And I reached her through a couple other informational interviews that led to her. And she said, do you know about this organization called ESIP? And I joined the ESIP Slack, and that's where I found the job opportunity that ended up leading me to University of Arizona. For me, I was a community fellow in 2024 as a postdoc, and so kind of on the upper end of the age range for community fellows. For me, I was working remotely, and so the community fellows cohort was a really important peer network for me to be able to engage with peers. I was also on a lot of grants where I just happened to be kind of, in some cases, the only early career person. And I think one of the big benefits for me, I was a geochemist and geologist for the 10 years prior to that, and transitioning into this new space, being able to go to the ESIP meetings as a fellow was absolutely huge, because I could just come here and absorb, and learn a lot about the federal landscape, which is such a huge source of jobs and expertise and profession, and try to learn all of the weird job titles that people have and who does what and what is a relational database. I didn't know that when I got to Arizona. So now I regret learning. Yeah. So that was huge for me. And I think the other thing that I wanted to share about my experience was that the match with the cluster I supported, the physical sample curation cluster, that was extremely tied to my interests and the work that I was doing in my postdoc at the time and continue to do today. And that match was really important because it allowed me to really dive in and then become one of the gang and become viewed as a leader very early on, and just kind of be able to dive in and collaborate. So yeah, thanks.
No, you don't have to. I thought you were reaching.
No, I was just going to pass it to you.
Thanks. Thank y'all all so much. I love this because I've met all of y'all like in the past year, and I didn't know all these stories. It's so cool to hear the history and all the connections that have been made and how that connects to this other thing and all the stuff. But we are going to take another little bit of time. We have a second reflection question that we would like for you all to respond to. And the responses to this are actually going to go into our breakout. So whatever you write here, you're kind of going to be sharing that and using it to kind of inform some of those questions. So we'll give you all a little bit of time to think about it. But what ideas do you have for ESIP to support early career researchers through the Fellows Program, but also thinking a little bit more broadly about other opportunities for mentorship? So just take a little bit of time and space to think about that for a little bit. And I'll let you know when you have about a minute left.
Can everyone hear us?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I guess for those online, we're just kind of going through the different recommendations that emerge from the evaluations. So trying to define a consistent core experience. Secondly, then strengthening our mentoring and trying to create more structured opportunities for the fellows to build relationships with ESIP members and leaders, and not just in your assigned collaboration area. We also wanted to improve alignment among the fellows and collaboration area chairs and to create meaningful collaborative work. So establishing shared expectations, ensuring that chairs have the capacity and enthusiasm to support a fellow with their collaboration area. And finally, making more intentional professional development in cross-collaboration areas while recognizing that each cohort may arrive with different interests and needs. So as we move into our breakout groups, we just wanted you to work together on the following ideas. So within the group, each of you want to share your responses to the last silent reflection, and also include with that the previous recommendations that we had gone through. And what ideas do you have for ESIP to support early career researchers through the Community Fellows Program? And then across your group, and including those recommendations from the session leads. That's just what I went through, and identify the top 3 ideas that you shared. And then we also want to know where are the barriers to implementation. So last question is challenges. What challenges does the community face implementing these ideas? And then we'll have you share those ideas with the associated ideas and challenges with the larger group when we come back from the breakout. And so we'll have in the collaborative notes document, there should be a section there that for you to record each of your group's ideas and answers to these questions, and probably just choose one note taker to go through that, or if you all want to work collaboratively. And so we'll break into groups of about 4 to 5 people, and you can kind of cluster in the areas within the room. We do have one virtual participant. So those of you who have laptops, if one of you want to make a group, a hybrid group with them, that would probably be nice, unless that person wants to take a break and do something else during this time. We can. Oh yeah, or if you just want to share, take some time, come back and share your response. We can do it. We can be dynamic. Mm-hmm. Kathy, what do you have a preference?
I can link into somebody's group. If there's someone who wants to, that'd be fine.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll do a breakout session, then somebody can with the laptop.
Okay.
That. I think we have the capability to do that. I don't know. Okay. And then we'll take. I think we budgeted about 40 minutes for this, but we might be a little behind. Okay. Yeah, we'll check back in. So yeah, does that sound good to everyone? Do you want? Okay. Fantastic.
Just plan like 3 people that want to join like virtually with Kathy. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
3 people join Kathy. So like I'll be one of the virtual people.
Move fun. Are there any other virtual? Back in the corner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to join with Kathy? Yes, fantastic. Okay, so we have a little group. Anyone else, feel free. And then the others, form your groups, unless you want me to count off like popcorn style.
Okay. So we just have a couple of minutes for each group. So again, just share kind of the top idea that you think emerged from your conversations and any barriers you think might get in the way of implementing them. Again, if you're really interested in these conversations, this wasn't a lot of time to dig deep into these thoughts and ideas. So if you are interested, I can follow up with folks in the session if you'd like to kind of continue some things. We would love to have you join our conversation. So we'll get started with group one.
Okay, so group one's top idea was ensuring that there's a designated mentor within the cluster, and the revelation is that this need not be the chair. So maybe the chair is really busy and doesn't have capacity to mentor, and maybe there's someone who doesn't want to be chair but would love to mentor. And we blew right past the challenge and we just went straight to potential solutions. So when the calls for fellows go out to the clusters asking if clusters would like a fellow, the clusters who respond should answer 2 additional short questions. The first is, do you want a fellow? And if so, who is your designated mentor? And telling people that this need not be the chair. And then what specific project or activity do you have going on that you envision your potential fellow contributing to make sure or try to make sure that clusters have been thoughtful about why and how they want to involve that fellow. And we also kind of played around with the idea. We had a close second top idea, which was maybe the first part of the fellowship for the fellows is a little bit of a sampling of clusters. So you could have like a webinar where each of the clusters come and talk about what their cluster does. And maybe there's a world in which some of this would be kind of like a pitch. The clusters pitch their kind of project in the way. A cluster off. This is what we want our fellow to do. And we think it's really cool. So come join us.
Yeah. I love that. Which is group 2? I'm sorry, I can't remember who I assigned. I think.
Hi, Sarah Cooley, ESIP. So our conversation was kind of in the context of thinking very broadly about mentorship at ESIP. We talked a little bit about kind of in the context of the cluster matching. So I really love what you had to say, Natalie, because I think it was really compatible with what we were thinking about. We really felt like the top idea is just a much more sort of thoughtful or rigorous mentor-mentee matching process. It requires commitment from both sides, and which really aligns very well with what you said about, what would the person be working on, or what do we need them for, and how are they going to engage? We also talked about how setting up some shared expectations at the beginning of the relationship about what is possible and what is not. A mentor may not be able to advise on, every single thing that a mentee is facing at the time, but they might be able to say, I can definitely help you on these other things. And then, it kind of lays out some expectations. I think the challenges were really, how do we right size engagement for mentors and also for ESIP staff to implement or support? And how do we incentivize involvement by mentors? Because mentors and mentees, but mentors often are so busy that they have a hard time carving out time. And so we need to figure out how to make sure that everybody's benefiting from an engagement and kind of tweak them until we can make sure that's true. I'll stop there. We could talk all night. That was fun.
Great. Group 3.
We had a couple ideas. One, I'm going to take speaker's prerogative because this was my favorite, but suggesting that can we make the fellowship 2 years by default? So when I was a fellow, we were meeting in person twice a year. And those in-person, you need to be in person more than once to make connections. The first time you meet somebody, the next time you actually feel comfortable enough to go get drinks or something. So I would say 2 years by default. And there was some discussion about maybe exploring different times to start the fellowship, such as starting in April, maybe, so that they start off with an in-person meeting, but we leave that to others to discuss. There was also discussion more about more intentional networking. So setting up things like Meet the Feds panels or something like that. So learning from the fellows who they want to meet and who they want to talk to and what they want to learn, and trying to set up opportunities to do that. At the same time, I think your phrase was high variance opportunities. Yeah, it's still good to, you need serendipity opportunities for randomness. So we don't want to get too siloed, but I think like this idea of intentional networking panels would be great. The challenges we discussed were not necessarily related to these ideas that we had, but were broader challenges. One thing I want to surface is the challenges for early career folks after their fellowship ends and they're out of money and they can no longer afford to come to ESIP. Can there be a recent alum registration discount or something like that, some sort of travel support if they've got a project they want to get going, but they're still precarious? One thing that I've seen some early career burnout in a lot of folks, including ESIP fellows. I can think of a couple examples, and I don't think it's an ESIP problem necessarily, but I do think this would be a longer conversation. But when we're a volunteer organization and your volunteers don't have jobs, you're going to lose them. And so maybe part of the mentoring could be around making sure that the fellows aren't taking on more than they can literally afford at a given moment, and trying to see what support they can get from people who are less precariously positioned. So
that's great. Thanks so much. And then the last group over here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gabby. I'm at the University of Oklahoma. I'm actually a current community fellow in my first year. And I think our main takeaway is very similar to you guys was making it a 2-year program, or the potential of making it a 2-year program. I kind of feel like in your first year, I feel like right now I'm just starting to understand what ESIP is all about. And so by the time you just start to understand and really learn, the 1-year fellowship's over. And I feel like the 2-year fellowship kind of gives you that onboarding time and then the opportunity to kind of get your hands dirty, So we were kind of toggling with that idea, along with a lot of similar themes to what the rest of the groups were talking about, with kind of this idea too of mentoring. And I know that I've taken a lot from like Kelsey and Joe, who have, attended our meetings, and they are in their second year of their fellowship. And it's kind of like that mentoring, that they're kind of guides. I feel like they've given us a lot of advice on how to navigate the program. And I think that's really cool to kind of have a senior class of fellows, but also that incoming class that can learn from them. And by the time their year is up, they can mentor the next class, which is super neat. So we've talked about that, with also the challenges kind of being the potential of recruitment. Will we get enough applicants for a 2-year program? Maybe we will, but maybe we won't. So I don't know. Did I miss anything?
Awesome. That was wonderful. Thanks. Well, thank you all so much for your time and sharing all of your ideas. This has just been wonderful. Want to thank again Joe, Kelsey, and Debashish for helping organize this, and for all the past fellows who contributed to the conversation. There are other members of the community who are interested in helping support this. But I will follow up with folks again if there's interest in providing some input as we start maybe pulling some of these ideas together. So if you're interested in that, you'll have the opportunity to let me know or let us know. And again, thank you. The research showcase is now starting in Zlotnick, which is where the first plenary was, down on the first floor. And it will be happening for a while. And there's a reception, correct, Sarah? So there will be food down there. There will be food down there.
So it's not going to probably knock you out, but it'll keep you interested and to be there.
Yeah, and it's also another great opportunity to interact with our fellows who will have posters during the session. So thank you all again. We appreciate it.